So far in this chapter, we have taken a look at how to use different types of Go data types in our templates. And also we've looked at how to load a template and how to load multiple templates. In this video, we're going to be looking at how to use functions inside of our template. Yeah, how to make use of functions inside of our template. Functions help us to do a lot of tasks. They help us with code reusability. So if you have a task that you're doing a lot, you can wrap it in a function and just use that function multiple times. And that is something that is going to be quite useful inside our templates. So to run our examples, I have created a new endpoint. This was the endpoint we were using before, the one with all the socials and features. But I've created a new endpoint just for our functions demo. Is /functions, and I've also created a new template for it, functions.html. Right now the template is a full HTML page, and it just has h1 that says template functions, and I've also created a piece of data that we're going to be using here. Is a struct, and it just contains different data properties that we're going to be using for our demo. Name, just a random name. Current date is the current time. Number 7 and a slice of items. So we have that and we're executing it. And if we go to our browser, go to /functions, I've already loaded it up. You see template functions. So everything is loading fine. Everything is ready for our demo. The first thing we're going to be doing is using global functions. Now you can use two types of functions within your templates. You can use global functions that come with Go, and you can also use your own defined functions. Yeah, you can also define your own functions and pass it into your templates, and they're good to go. You'll be able to use them. For Go global functions, you can just use them directly. They're already available in your template, and we've been using some of them. We'll use some of them as you will see right now. First, we're going to use range. We've used range before. We use range to loop over our socials and our features. But once again, we're just going to be using range to loop over our slice of items. And we're also going to be using another global function. So we're going to be demoing two global functions and two user-defined functions. So let's go. Let us use range. So I've already passed this data into the template in the execute statement. So we can just go into our template and start working. So first we want to loop over our items. So let me create an h3 and just say items. So those are our items, and to range over them, to loop over them, we say double curly brace range. So we range over our items. This is a slice. If it was a map, we can also get the key and the value, but this is a slice, so we just range over the items, and inside here we have access to each item that we're looping over. So what do we want to do? I think first we want to have this wrapped in a unordered list. So yeah, I want to have this wrapped in an unordered list. So I'm just going to cut this and put it inside here. Good. So here we can now loop over our items, and for each of our item, we're simply going to create a list item. Now you can do this you can loop over a reusable template. You can pass the data into that reusable template. You can loop over any type of HTML construct. You can, but we're just using simple lists for now, just to make the concept clear. So range over the item, and each item inside that's within this range loop, each item is a top level data item, and top level data items inside templates are represented by a dot. So the top level data item is a dot, because that is the data that is visible inside here. The top level data item in this old template is this dot, and that's our data, and we are able to access items on it, so that's why we're doing dot items. But here the top level data is the currently looped item, so just the dot and we get our data. If this was a slice of, let's say, a particular data type, let's say products, then products will probably have some properties, and it can have something like price, or it can have a description, and stuff like that. But this just a slice of primitives, a slice of strings. So we'll just get that string, which is represented by this dot. So yeah, range over it. If we save this and go, we start our server. Now when we go to Chrome and refresh the page, as you can see, we have our items. So that's how range works. Simple and straightforward. Like I said, if it was a map, just like we did in the previous example, the map example, you see we're able to get the key and the value and also use them in our display. So that's that for range. That's a global function. Let's look at another global function. So the next example of a global function that we're going to be looking at is a function called GT. We're going to be using it to compare our number. We're going to check if this number is greater than, let's say, 10. Yeah, let's say 10. Now GT stands for greater than. So let's start. First, I'll create a new section. So let's just add a div in there. And one thing that you will see in this example is that your templates can also take conditionals. Yeah, they can also take conditionals. So you can have if, and below if you can have else, and below that end. Yeah, so you have to always end it. So if, else, end. So within this, I can check for inside here, inside this block, I can check for a conditional, and if it returns true, this section is going to run. If it returns false, this section is going to run. So like I said, we'll be using the GT function, which is greater than, and the first argument it takes is our number. So passing our number, that's the number we want to test, and the second argument is the number that we want to compare it against, which is 10. So we want to check if our number is greater than 10. And if it's greater than 10, we want to say something like, let me have a bold tag here. We want to say something like, wow, that is a big number. And if it's not, we want to say, well, just a small amount. Yeah. So wow, that's a big number. Well, just a small amount. So we compare our number against 10 using the GT function. It takes these two arguments, the number and what we want to compare it against. So let's save that. And let's go and restart this server. Let's restart this, and now we can go to Chrome, and our number is 7, so it's obviously not greater than 10. So we should see that other message that says, well, just a small amount. Yeah, just a small amount. So if I refresh, yep, well, just a small amount. So it does the comparison correctly. If we go back to VS Code and let's say we change our number to something like 15, save that, go and restart our Go application, and we go to Chrome. If we refresh, now we should see, wow, that's a big number. Yeah, that's what we should see now. So yep, wow, that's a big number. So yeah, those are global functions in Go. Go has a lot of them, a lot of wonderful utilities. You can go to the Go documentation to check out more functions that you can use globally within your template. Now now it's time to use our own defined functions. Now we've been using global functions that are defined in Go already, but what if we want to define a special function? Let's say something to check authentication, or whether check a user session, whether the user is logged in or not, check for a specific price so that it knows whether it can issue the user a discount or not, stuff like that. We have some custom operations I want to perform in our application, and those kind of functions are not readily available in a standard library. So we want to define the functions and have them operate within our template. So let's see how we can do that. So going back to VS Code, there's a utility on the template function, on the template package rather, that helps us to pass user-defined functions into our templates. So first we have this, I think we have current date, We haven't tested that, and we haven't tested name. So those are the two items we're going to be checking with our custom functions. So first, this name, we want a function that would make everything uppercase. Yeah, we want a function that will make everything uppercase. So that's cool. Then we want another function for this that will simply just format the date that we're getting from Go. Yeah, to format it to something that is more, human readable. Yeah, something that is more human readable. So let us go above the main function. Let me collapse. Yeah. So right here above the main function, let's just define our functions. First, let's define the one that would uppercase a string. So we'll define a function that will make a string uppercase. So I'm just going to say func. We'll call it to upper, and to upper is going to take a string, and it's also going to return a string. And what we're simply going to do is return using the strings package. So strings dot to upper, and we pass in our string argument. Okay, so that should be good enough. Our function is called to upper, lowercase though. We pass string, which is a type of string, and we're also returning a string type. And we use to upper from the strings package to get that working. Now, like I said, I have the Go extension installed on VS Code, so it has automatically imported the strings package. But if you don't have that kind of stuff going on, you want to make sure you bring this in, in your importer block. So we have to upper. The next function is the one that will format our time, or let's just say format date. So format date, say func format date. That will be the name of our function, and it will take a time t of the time.time type from Go. It will return a string because we want a human readable string to be returned, and inside we'll just say return t.format, call the format function of the time type, and we just want it to give us something that looks like this: January 2nd, 2024. Let me just say 2007, so that it's not like I had coded something. Yeah, because the year is currently 2024. So we want something like this, something human readable, not the nerdy stuff that comes from here by default. So we have those two functions. Now we need to make them available inside our template. We need to make these functions available inside our template. And how do we do that? First, we need to create something called a func map. Yup, we need to create something called a func map. I believe it is short for function map. So what do we do? Let's go back to our handler. We come here. We'll say func map. Why does this keep jumping around? Okay, func map equals, then we'll call template dot func map. So we'll call the func map function on the template, and what this template does is that it just takes, it's a map of strings and functions. So it's a map, and it just basically takes in the keys as the name of the function. Now this name is the name you want them to be called inside your template, not the name of the function itself, but the name you want them to be accessible as inside your template. And here you pass the actual function. So this can actually have different names, so but this is what it will be accessible as inside the template. This is the actual function. So we want to upper, and we also want format date, not format data, format date. So we want them to be accessible inside our function, don't we? So we want, we want these two and the trailing comma. So now that we have our function map, it's now time to pass it to our template. Now, in order to do that, we need to introduce a new function on template, which is template.new. Template.new, because template.new helps us to do a bunch of pre-configuration before our template is loaded, and that is where we load our functions to. So we're going to say template.new. Then in template.new, we can pass in a name for our template here. I'm just going to say functions.html. Then we can access the funcs method. So we have template.new. We pass in a name here, and then that gives us access to the funcs method. Without going through new, we can't have access to this funcs method. So we say funcs, and inside funcs, we can then pass our function map. Inside here. So it is funcs that takes in our function map and makes it available inside this our functions template. So that's the major change you need to make. You need to call new first and give your template a name. Then on new, you will be able to have access to funcs, which then allows you to pass your function map, which is a map of all your function names and your user-defined functions. It allows you to pass it inside your template. So once you have done that, we're good to go. We can now use it. We can now use the user-defined functions. These ones that we defined. We can now use them within this template. So like I said, we're going to be using them to run operations on name and current date. So let's start with name. Let's go into functions.html. Create another section. So div, and inside the div I'll have a paragraph. No, not param. I'll have a paragraph, and then inside the paragraph, let's just say the capitalization of name is, just have something, just have a bunch of text there. So the capitalization of name is name uppercase. Won't have any effect, but just to be consistent. Capitalization of name is, we can then call our toUpper function, toUpper, and pass it name. Pass it name. Good. So the capitalization of name is, we call our toUpper function, which is custom, and pass it our name argument. It takes a single argument, so it just needs that single argument. So let's save this. We start our server when everything goes fine. Let's go to Chrome, and I will refresh. We should see a capitalized name, capitalized John Doe. Yep, the capitalization of name is John Doe, capitalized John Doe. The capitalization of name is a capital John Doe. Awesome. So this is using a user-defined function. This function is not available inside Go templates, but we've been able to create it and use it. The next thing is to format our date. Yeah, let's format our date. Let's do that. Let's have some fun. So div, let's create a new section, and we'll just say today's date is. Then we're going to call our format date function, which is custom. Yep, custom function. Format date function, I would give you the current date property. So format date, also from our function map, and we are using it to operate on this current date property. So let's save that. Today's date is format date current date. Then let us restart our server. And what next? Check it out in Chrome. The current date is May 22nd. What is this? I don't know what Go is doing here. May 22nd is supposed to be 2024. So I'm not liable for that. Today is May 22nd. May 22nd is right. Yeah, this is May 22nd. But I don't know what's going on here. It's weird. So yeah, user-defined functions. These are to use functions in Go. We've used two global functions. That is range. We use range and GT. Those ones don't need to be defined. They are already available in Go. And we're able to create our own functions. Create a map of them to be passed into our template. Pass it with the .new and .funcs methods. And they become available in our templates, and we can now use them. We can use toUpper and we can use current date. How awesome is that? Great. So that's how to use functions in Go templates.